Everybody, welcome back to another episode of FSIDFS Fantasy NASCAR Pick Show. I'm your host, Mike Ruler 31. Xfinity race was much better than the truck race. Although we're really not seeing like too many people get up front and like dominate these races. There are a lot of lead changes. It just seems like, it's like a set group of like maybe 3 to 5 vehicles up front, whether it's the truck and the truck's a little bit different because of the rain. Xfinity. But anyways, put $100 down, made almost $400 in profit. So I'll take that. If Weatherman's car didn't break down, he was actually starting to climb up a little bit there with the attrition. If his engine didn't go out, he probably could have made top 25, maybe a top 20, and it would have been even more. But hey, I'll take it. It was a really good day for profit. And hopefully you watched the video and you did well also. So on to Cup. We've got 400 laps here for this one. And this is kind of weird because some of the people that like really qualified well here, I don't really see as like super like dominant cars. Like in the truck series, like you had Zane Smith, you had Kyle Busch up there, and there's a couple other ones that you knew could potentially be in the mix. And Xfinity, you knew John Hunter Nemechek was strong. You knew Cole Custer was strong. And there was probably about 4 or 5 other ones we talked about in the video that were strong also that were back and forth and up there also. I don't know if this is going to happen. The other issue too is watch the weather because rain's supposed to come back in tomorrow night, just like with the Cup or with the truck series. I know they'll probably have like the tires and stuff, and this is easy to drive this track because it's concrete. It's not that big. However, is it going to mess up the race? Is it going to get called early? Just also watch, like, make sure DK doesn't move the race up to like 1 or something, lock time to try to get it in. I mean, they do have lights and everything, so I'm sure they'll figure it out, but hopefully the weather will hold off and we'll have a really, really good race. So what I have here is, the plays and everything using pretty much looking at Martinsville for the last 2 years. New Hampshire is a similar track in Richmond that they ran this year. And then some other short tracks for the track type average, which is like includes like Bristol and some of those without the dirt. Bristol, Richmond, things like that. And then, the season data and stuff like that. So Ryan Preece gets the pole. I think he'll get high ownership just because he's on the pole. And if you looked at the last 2 races with the truck and the Xfinity race, the pole guys didn't end up winning the race, but they did lead a little bit early on and did end up finishing top 5. I don't know about Preece. Like, he's good at short, flat tracks. But I look back at his like numbers, not in 22 because it wasn't in Cup Series in 22. He was trying to find his way, a ride back. He was doing some truck. He was doing Xfinity, but his like 21 numbers were bad, like 32nd overall. It's like 27th overall finishing, 31st in practice. Like, I really don't see anything. So I think you could play him in cash because he's cheap. And, he is starting the pole. He could go out there and lead 10, 20, 30. Who knows how many laps? Who knows if the weather is an issue, might have a competition caution that could screw things up for him also. So I think he's a cash play just because he's on the pole and we haven't seen much passing. But again, I think it's a completely different situation here because I think there's a lot better quality guys further on down that are going to get up there and be the dominant cars, whether it's after the first pit stop or they're going to work their way up through the field. Suarez just hasn't had the speed. Like, he looked good in Martinsville in the fall, but the spring race, he looked really bad. 22nd overall finish, only 2 top 10s and 12 tries here. Just hasn't had the speed this year that they've had in the past. So GPP, I mean, he could get out there and be aggressive and get ahead of Preece and lead a bunch. It's entirely possible. But I think Almirola is probably the best bet for it. It's really good these short flat tracks. And if you look at it, he's led at least 75 laps here, whereas Preece and Suarez have led 0 in 12 races and then 7 races. And he's had 28 races here. So a lot of experience. Um, do I think he's going to win it? No, but do I think he can get out there and lead some of the early laps and be the early dominator? And especially if this race is cut short, those points could be very valuable. So I think, out of the three of them, I'd probably start, if I'm picking a guy up here, with Almirola. So next up, we have Chase Briscoe. And Chase Briscoe has a broken thumb from a crash that he was in last week in the dirt race. He's going to have surgery on Monday. Very uncomfortable. This is where you have to shift and really like pull down with your left hand while you're shifting with your right hand. And obviously, he qualified well here, but his practice speed was 22nd. They're trying to make it as comfortable as possible. It's a 400 lap race. I mean, it is a short track, but with all the bumping and stuff, I just don't think that he's going to be 100% physically. So GPP for me, and I think that's going to lower his ownership also. Truex, he's got 3 wins here, 9 top 5s, 15 top 10s. He's led over 1,000 laps and has been really dominant here, but he really hasn't been in the last couple of years. At 10-3, like, if he can get ahead of these 4 and go out there and be the first dominator, then, I mean, that's great, but he was only 17th in practice. I mean, he put down some really good qualifying laps to get up here in top 5, but I don't know. He looked really good in New Hampshire, he looked really good in Richmond, but just the last couple of times in Martinsville hasn't been running that fast. So I fear he falls back, and I don't think I could play 10-3 for him, especially in cash. Next up, Tyler Reddick. Not exactly the best track type for him. He really struggled here in the fall last year, and he's been mediocre. Like, he's like just inside the top 20 driver. So, I mean, he was fastest in practice. So I think that you can look at him in cash here, but by far not my favorite play. Kevin Harvick up next. Like, and again, Kevin Harvick, just like Truex, has been here a long time. 43 races here, 20 top 10s, 1 win, 5 top 5s, led 600 some laps, average finish 14th. Still, like, he's been really good at these track types. In New Hampshire, he looked really good. In Richmond, he looked really good. He's #1 rank in the track type average within like the last 2 or 3 races at short tracks, like overall. So I think he's going to prime play here. He looked good in practice, qualified 7th. So I definitely think that he's going to get up there and dominate. A little bit of place differential. Definitely probably going to finish in the top 5. And I really like the next driver here, William Byron. He's just in really great form this season. 2nd fastest in practice. Really dominated the Martinsville spring race last year. Didn't look as good in the fall race, but did look in good in New Hampshire. Even though, like, in 10 races here, his average finish is 14th. Like, he's led laps, and I think he really progressed here. And with 1 win, 4 top 5s, I really like Byron here, and Harvick. So Bubba Wallace, he says this is his favorite track, 13th in practice. But again, like, he's just finishing like in the top 20 out of 10 races. He's finished them all. So, like, he's got a perfect DNF rate, but I don't know. I think he's a GPP here for me. But he is one in a GPP that I feel very comfortable playing because I think he's got upside, but I don't think he's got the floor for cash. And Buescher rounding out the top 10 here. I just think he's going to be low on GPP. Yes, 4th fastest in practice, but kind of struggled last fall. Wasn't bad in spring, wasn't bad New Hampshire, but didn't look good at Richmond. Again, somebody at 15 races, that's average finish is just inside the top 20, with only 1 top 10. I just really can't do it. So just looking at the top 10 here, again, I think my favorite plays are definitely going to be closest to the top would be Almirola, and then Harvick and Byron definitely, and then might sprinkle in some Reddick and some Truex potentially, and maybe some Bubba Wallace, just because, again, I think it's his favorite track. But again, pre-scares me up top. Suarez just has the speed. Briscoe with the thumb, and Busher, I just don't feel confident there. Denny Hamlin, I think, is a good play here. Also, he was dominant in the fall race here. If you just look at all the green with his track, 34 races, 5 wins, 17 top fives, 23 top tens, has led over 2,000 laps here. So definitely, I consider here Harvick as the prime play, but just like how well Harvick looked in practice and Denny Hamlin, he was only 21st and in practice. So and the Toyotas have been a little bit slower, and the Fords have just looked really good at this track. So I don't think, I like Harvick better, but if you can get Hamlin in a lineup for cash, I'm fine with that too. Ty Gibbs, he's starting to show some consistency here. He's finished 10th, 9th, 9th, 9th. So 4 top 10s in a row. And, he ran decent here in Xfinity. 4 races here, 1 win, 2 top fives, led some laps. So, does he sneak inside the top 10? Yeah, potentially. Again, range short race at 6,900. I mean, he might be somebody to have on your radar. I think he's definitely could finish in the top 15, maybe move up a little bit, over like Busher, or if Priest has an issue, or Briscoe's hand starts hurting. So I definitely think that he can get into the top 10, and there's about 3 or 4 cars below him that aren't going to get up and overtake him, I don't think. So, I think it's very feasible if there's not a ton of movement here that Gibbs could stay up here, and a 69 is not a bad price. So still miss a GPP. I think he's going to be lower owned, but keep him on your radar. Gillian's a fade. I think he's starting too far forward here. And definitely only 2 races, 21 average. Position is average running position, like 27th overall composite on short tracks. So put down a good lap for qualifying, didn't look great in practice, so I'm not too interested in him. AJ Allmendinger, he's still getting adjusted to this next gen car. Was much better here in Xfinity Series in 23 races. 2 top 5, 7 top 10s, average finish 19th. So he's still like starting a little bit further ahead of where I'd like him to be. 11th in practice is kind of encouraging, but I just look at his like Martinsville's numbers for the last couple of years, and 25th and 28th is just not what I'm looking for. Joey Logano, on the other hand, here, I mean, the price is good on Allmendinger. Joey Logano at 9,900, GPP medium here. If you look at the average running position at the 2 races, 9.8 and 4.8, that's really good. New Hampshire, a similar track at 6. Richmond, 13th this season, so 4th overall in composite average with everything. 28 races, 1 win, 9 top 5, 16 top 10s, has led over 1,000 laps. Problem with Joey Logano is, again, the Fords, and they've run pretty well here, it seems, on this track this weekend. My issue is that he just hasn't performed his best in this package. Like Blaney was definitely much better than him when they used to run this short track package previously. And his car just seems not, if he's not out front, if he's out front, he dominates. Like he's really close to the front. And but if he's not close to the front, then he in dirty air he kind of struggles. There was a short track last week in the dirt. He did really well in the truck series, but when he got a little bit behind, didn't do great in this one. He did really well in the first Coliseum race, but again, he got in dirty air in the second one and didn't do as well. So I think he's a very intriguing GPP with some place differential, a lot of potential, but I just don't think, again, he has a floor for cash. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., I mean, he has the win. He's probably gonna make the playoffs unless we have like a weird scenario where we have like 20 different guys win 20 different races. But with Stenhouse here, I think he's starting way too far forward. 33rd in practice, just like his composite's like 28th. His overall average finish is 25th. So I just see him going backwards. Kyle Busch, I think he peaked early. He went Sonoma. I still think you play him in cash here. 7th in practice. Just had an abysmal fall race, but I think again they were kind of sabotaging his team, so I'm just not going to look at that. But if I look at the Martinsville String at 12 and New Hampshire 15 and Richmond on short track 13, 11th overall, starting 17th, average finish 12th. That's so at least 5 place differential points. So I think he's definitely in play. 9,700 is not a bad price for him. And, he did look good in the truck series, but, this car is completely different than the truck. So, and with some of the people ahead of him, I think he can definitely move up into the top 10. So, definitely somebody, if it works into your lineup, that's good. I usually start my GPP with Kyle Busch, so probably will be doing that again this week. Austin Dillon, a little bit better, but he's just not a really good race car driver recently. So I think he's gonna be low owned GPP here, 32nd in practice. His average finish here is about where he's like starting. Like he had a really bad fall race, but he had a really good spring race. But if I look at the other two ones, New Hampshire and Richmond, comparatively not good. 17th overall, a composite average. So I'm just gonna probably watch me build my perfect lineup, and I have like 7,500 left, and he's the option. At that point, I'd probably just eat the $400 and go leave that on the table and go with Bubba Wallace, or maybe go down to and take a shot on Priest. But I just don't think I'm playing any Dillon. Kyle Larson, I think he'll be highly owned. A cash play here. Obviously, he's got the place differential. Was really good here in the fall. And the other shorter track, New Hampshire and Richmond, decent. But overall, in 16 races here, he's led 180 laps, but his average finish is 18th, and he's DNF'd like out of 16 races here. So it's not like a small sample size, like 1/4 of them. So at least 4 races he hasn't finished. So Larson just finds trouble with in these tracks. It just seems you just saw what happened at the dirt track where he should have dominated that one, and then he ended up like further on back. I just see like imagine like a pit road penalty on him. Like Truex seems to be, and Kyle Busch seemed to be burning with those also. Just crazy. So again, 10-6. I would so much rather play Byron. I'd so much rather play Hamlin in this price range, or Christopher Bell that we're coming up to. Like Kyle Larson is a super talented driver. It's just has had a lot of bad luck recently, and it just with this Hendrick team, it just seems like they're out to get them too. Like with all the you know reinspection of cars and fines for parts and everything. So you can play him in cash, but I don't think I'm going to be as interested. Michael McDowell, not really a great track for him. Starting 20th, 8th in practice, which is good, but his overall in 24 races, like his average finish is 28th, and he's had 0 top 10s. So no, thank you. GPP, not a fade, but pretty close to one. Brad Keselowski, again, his form has been really good recently. He's run well here, and again, these Fords have been fast. So I definitely probably be playing some Brad Keselowski. He's always run well when they had the different package for these like speedways here. So I think he'll do well in this car. 24th in practice, 21st. So like not a huge difference between practice and qualifying. But just average finish is 12th, like 2 wins, 12 top 5s, 17 top 10s. He's led 891 laps here. So knows what he's doing on this track. And again, I said the Fords have looked really good. So I think he can definitely get up into the top 15, top 10 potentially, maybe even lead some laps here. Christopher Bell, I like his form also. 29th in practice and 22nd starting position is kind of scary, but just look at his numbers straight across the board here for average running position. 6.1 for Martinsville, 9.6 for the spring race. New Hampshire and Richmond, they're all like in the 6s here. 8.5 overall composite, fifth best. In 6 races, he's got 1 win here, 2 top 10s. He's led 159 laps, perfect DNF rate, and average finish is like 14.9. So it's almost 10 place differential points. I really like Christopher Bell here. I think he'll have a very solid day. Bowman also has been good here. Just take out the New Hampshire race. He didn't race Mallard to Bell Fall because he had the concussion. Grayson was in his car, but in spring he was decent. He really looked good at Richmond. 13 races here and 19th, so I think he definitely has top 20 potential. He's got a win here, an 82. That's a really nice price, so I think he'll be able to move up. Chase Elliott, probably the cheapest you'll see him at 9.3. Definitely going to be maybe he and Kyle Busch, like my first 2 guys in my GPP lineup, because he's always had success here. Just look at these numbers, like second overall to Kevin Harvick in all the matrix. In the fall, he did really well here. Spring race, he ran really well here. New Hampshire, he ran really well. Didn't run Richmond because he had the broken leg. But again, like I want to see how he does in a full race before I start to play him. Although Hemrick was dealing with a broken leg or something in Xfinity, and that really didn't seem to shake him too much. I can't remember if it's his left or his right leg, but still, I mean, these drivers are using both feet for multiple things. It's not like your regular car where you have to use the clutch. They kind of sink the gears and like slam them into place and shift without that. But there's times where you have to keep like one foot on the brake and one foot on the gas simultaneously. And, there's a lot of footwork. And if his legs aching and stuff, like I just, the agony of it, I don't know how it's gonna play out. I'm glad that he's back here and it's good to see him. But again, I want to, before I play him in cash, but I definitely love the upside. I definitely love the pedigree here. So definitely be playing him in GPP. Cindric, another GPP, he just seems to be like really fading. I think he came up a little bit too fast into this Penske team, just with his connection with his father. But again, he didn't look bad in the spring race here, but he did look bad in the fall race. And New Hampshire and Richmond just weren't great. So 2 races, 18th overall finish. Nothing special here. So GPP kind of would be like a dead man zone probably for a price. If you're looking for value, you're probably going to take one shot at one of the 5K guys. Yeah, I really don't see you landing in the 6-8 range. But if you're your last guy in, I mean, not the worst person in the world. Actually, I probably wouldn't. Haley's $400 cheaper, but I don't know if I'd really want to play him. He has been really bad at this type of track, so he's a fade for me. Corey LaJoie is very intriguing here, starting a little bit further forward than I'd like him. I kind of like him when he's in the 30s, but 25 is kind of the magic number for him. He has 26 overall finish. He's finished 9 out of 10 races here, but his composite's like 23. So I mean, that's a couple places ahead here. But 5K, I mean, you need some value. So 16th in practice, I think he'll be medium to maybe highly owned just with his price point. But some people might look at it and be like, I don't know, start a little bit far forward. But you're probably gonna need some people in the 5K range. And I'm not playing Ty Dillon. I'm not playing JJ Yaley, even though they're like way down on the bottom, just because I just fear that they're going to fall so many laps behind. But Haley, I think, should be able to at least stay on the lead lap, but still, I'm just not super impressed with him. But Corey LaJoie, I think, definitely will be able to hold his own a little bit better. Eric Jones down here did not look good in practice, just Legacy Motor Club, both these cars starting down here. Jones is like a 19th place finish in 12 races, but only one top 10. So, I mean, I think he's in place GPP, but I'm Grayson as a prime play. Like he ran really well here in Xfinity, and I know that this car hasn't performed as well, and it's been like a learning curve for him coming here. But I think this might be the breakout day where he gets up into the top like 20, maybe into the top 15 with some of the other people that I've had concerns with. I could see him definitely getting past like 5 cars. So lock him as a prime play. You're going to need a value to try to get some of these higher priced guys in. So 5,300, I like it. Ninth in practice. So I'll be playing some Gregson. Anthony Alfredo, it's going to be a fade. This BJ McLeod car, I just don't know if it's how well it's going to hold up. You know, he might finish where he starts, but I'm not paying to find out. Ryan Blaney is going to be the other prime play and chalk here. 14th in practice. Didn't qualify well, but he has been really good in this package. 4.8, 6.4 overall in Martinsville. New Hampshire and Richmond, he struggled a little bit, but I think the package was a little bit different there. Third overall with a composite average when you look at everything. 7 top 5s, 8 top 10s, led over 300 laps, average finish 9th. I think you just need to lock him in for the place differential here. I don't think he's going to win the race, but he's not a 31st place car, and 9.5 is not a bad price. Harrison Burton's always a fade for me. He just wrecks and just doesn't do well. So I'm not going to be playing him. But Zane Smith, I think you can play in cash. Just front row motorsports. Team is decent. The equipment should be decent, even though it's their second car. Zane Smith, very talented driver. I don't know if he's ready for Cup yet. I was hoping he'd make it like more Xfinity, but in the Truck Series, he's definitely one of the dominant drivers. Young guy with a lot of potential. So hopefully, you know, he gets to learn the next gen car here. And then, you know, we see him up in, I mean, he could be in the Woods Brothers car. I don't know how long Harrison Bird's going to lead there. And, you know, maybe eventually up in a Penske car if he continues on with Ford, or takes over for Gillian in the other front row car. But we'll see what happens. With that, you know, maybe in Roush Fenway, maybe he takes over the Amarola and Stuart Haas when he retires. So there's definitely a lot of potential spots for him up here, but I think he needs to take it slow and build it so he doesn't come up like John Hunter Nemechek or Hemrick or some of these talented people that, you know, even Cole Custer that we see struggling. Up here, I think he needs to take it slow and do it at the right pace, or you just get frustrated, flame out really early, and get in that knock back down. Ross Chastain, another consideration for a prime play here too. Third in practice, I just had some issues in qualifying. Definitely going to be chalk cash play here at 88. You know, everything says that he's a top 20 car with this Trackhouse program, so I think you can definitely lock him in cash if you can get him in with the rest of the primes. And, you know, my other prime plays aren't that expensive. So, you know, he might be like the fourth one prime in the lineup there, and then just figure out what dominators you want in your build up top. And then, like I said, Dylan and Yaley, their equipment's not good. It's a short track. If there's a long run, I think they just go lap down and after lap down after lap down. It's be hard for them to stay on the lead lap. So, you know, if there's a big crack or something and attrition will help them out. I mean, there are like 4 and 5 points baked into their starting position, but really, is that enough to get you where you need to go? So again, with the slate, like there's so many things to consider. I think it's really weak up top. Almirola would be my favorite, but you have like a second wave of cars with Truex and Harvick and Byron and Denny Hamlin that could get up there and be the dominant pack of cars after maybe the first pit cycle or competition caution, what happens. And then I think, again, you're going to see like 3 or 4 cars just battle for the front. But what 3 or 4 cars are going to be? Is it going to be some of these early guys? Or are they only going to lead a little bit? And then the majority of the race, is like John Hunter Nemechek, is going to be like a second wave of guys that get up there and really know the track and battle. And then everybody else is kind of stuck, you know, where they are. So, and I do think, you know, you want to look at some of this place differential in the back. I really like Grayson, you know, his prime value play. Blaney, Chastain, Zane Smith. You know, it's a nice core group of place differential plays to help you push forward. And then again, I said don't sleep on Christopher Bell, Bowman, Keselowski in the middle there. And then I'm just kind of cautious on Larson and Chase Elliott, just with Larson's bad luck and penalties and tires. Same thing with Logano, just like being stuck in bad air. Like the numbers look good, and then of course Elliott, I want to see how his foot is. So appreciate you watching the video. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat below. Love interacting with you. Really appreciate all the comments, questions, and stuff. Or hit me up at Twitter, Megaruler31. My DMs are open. So you know, if you want to ask me some questions there, that's also cool. If these videos help you, please like, subscribe to our channel so you know when the videos come out. And it's not just this, we do baseball, we do PGA, we do soccer. There's a bunch of different videos for that. So please like, subscribe to the channel, share with your friends. If you want more information on FSIDFS, the information to get into our Discord and sign up for, if you want to do NASCAR or anything else, is on the website. Discord's free to be in. There's a lot of free rooms of stuff to help you out with DFS. And most of our premium content is very, very cheap. And we do have a VIP program, which covers all the rooms. So again, our pricing is very, very reasonable if you look at it compared to some of the other ones in the industry. And it's a great group of guys. I'm so honored to have been selected by them to, you know, come and to be able to represent this company and to be able to make these videos and to share this content with you. So appreciate you watching. If again, you know how to get a hold of me. If you have any questions, again, with weather and stuff tomorrow, just check back like probably half an hour before the race. Like some people got sent to the back, and if that happens, they might not be as great of a play. You know, if Ryan Preece gets sent to the back, then obviously, you know, he's not going to be a cash play with that. So check back about half an hour before lock, just to make sure there wasn't any news or updates or anything like that with weather. And we'll try to throw some news and notes out there if anything happens. So again, I'm Megaruler31. Thanks again for watching. Good luck in your contest. I'll see you next time.